I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Things have got to change.
How many stations?
Hey, what's up, folks? Stealing a little art from our co-leader, Ed McKinley there. Welcome. It's the Wednesday night edition of StudentLoanJustice.org. If you're new to the group, welcome. What took you so long? We are the nation's oldest and largest and truest grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've been around since 2005. Way too long, but we know what we're doing, put it that way. We've been doing this for many years. So I've got a couple of announcements. Our petition is up to 1,060,000 or 69 or 70,000 signatures now. That's great. We're hoping to get that sucker up. There's no good reason we can't have more than 20 million, less than 20 million signatures on that thing. So we're asking everybody this week to tell 5 people you know with student loans about the petition. Change.org/cancel student loans. If you know 5 people with student loans, literally 4 of them were never going to be able to repay their loans, even before the pandemic. They were either in default, deferment, forbearance, otherwise not paying, or, and that's like half, literally half of all borrowers, or they were paying, but their loan balances were going up, not down, up. So if you know 5 people with student loans, 4 of them were probably screwed, and they'd be very glad to know about our petition at change.org/cancel student loans, and they should be very happy to sign and share with their friends. It's a word of mouth is the only way that we're going to grow, guys. The media, we can't count on them to help. The powers that be absolutely are against us, and so come on, do your part, please. It helps. So if you're watching us on Facebook, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. I'm very happy to respond to them. Maybe one other little quick announcement. We could really use state chapter leaders for a number of states. So in particular, if you happen to live in the South, like in no particular order, like South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Alabama, Missouri, Indiana, did I say Missouri? South Dakota, New Hampshire. We need state chapter leaders for most of those states. So if you've got it in you, we're fighting for only 2 things. Number one, and the most important, is the return of bankruptcy protections to all student loans. We've got a great bill in the Senate right now. We need some Republican senators to co-sponsor a bill, S-2598, very important. And so, yeah, think about leading your state and whipping your state chapter group into shape and getting it into fighting form. Because as they say, all politics is local. We're fighting for one other thing as well, and that is loan cancellation. I mean, this lending system is failed. It's done. It's toast by all rational metrics. Just that first thing I said at the very top about the 80% of all borrowers never going to be able to repay their loans even before the pandemic, that should be enough data for you to know that this lending system has failed. There's a lot more that I could say as well. The default rate among everybody walking around right now today with student loans, again, even before the pandemic, it was going to be 70, 75%. So that's only gotten worse. This lending system needs to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub and reset and thrown onto the trash heap of failed U.S. policy experiments. That's where it needs to go. And that may not sound like a super popular thing to say these days, but I'm telling you, folks, it's going to be very, very popular more and more going forward. We're stronger than we've ever been, but we need your help, because the one thing that's never changed, and this goes way beyond this group and to the nation and probably the world generally, nothing ever happens when people don't make it happen. Normal, living, breathing human beings, like in the intro here that I just did, human beings are what is needed to make this problem go away. Electrons are not going to solve our problem for us. The internet is handy and should be useful, but it is no substitute for living, breathing human beings that have passion and a soul. So that starts with you. We will get nowhere without your help. Word of mouth is really the only and best way that we have to grow. So think about joining your state chapter group. Go to the website, studentloanjustice.org. Think about leading your state chapter. It would be super helpful. So right now, a couple things going on. Joe Biden is proving what we knew way before the election, and that he's going to have to be pushed hard to get this done. Joe Biden has never been a friend of ours. He was our least favorite candidate, really, I think probably including Donald Trump in that. On this issue, we knew that he was going to be hard, and he has not disappointed. So the other day, Jen Psaki on Friday, and then again yesterday on Friday, she said, our highest priority is ensuring a smooth transition to repayment, which is ridiculous. There is no such thing as a smooth transition to repayment. Less than half the borrowers were paying before the pandemic. Almost nobody is paying now. And no matter what Jen Psaki or Joe Biden or anybody in Washington, D.C. says or does, very few people are going to resume paying on their loans when this come February 1st or whenever they decide to turn this lending program back on. And then again today, Jen Psaki essentially punted. They deferred to Congress. They're like, oh yeah, we'll cancel loans as soon as we get a bill from Congress to do it. Here's the critical point with that. Congress can never and will never meaningfully cancel student loans. They won't. They'll talk about it. They might even pass legislation that says student loan cancellation, but it will never work. It will never amount to a hill of beans. And here's why. In order for Congress to cancel $1 in student loan debt, they have to raise $1 to pay for it. So-called pay-go rules that Congress operates by. Number one, that's not going to happen. They're not going to raise taxes or take from other programs or somehow cobble together $1 trillion to cancel $1 trillion worth of student loans. They're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. The votes will never be there, at least not in this reality. But the second thing is, that whole thing I just said is stupid. It's idiotic. It's ridiculous. The federal government owns 90% of student loans right now. The taxpayers, they already paid for these loans many years ago. And they didn't pay much, by the way. They didn't pay $1.8 trillion. That's kind of an open question how much the government actually is out on this. Probably no more than a couple $100 billion if you look at all the profit that's been made over the years on the lending program. But there's no good reason for the taxpayers to have to shell out even one more penny to cancel these loans. They owned them. The Higher Education Act of 1965, even back to public law to the late 50s, gives the Secretary of Education full authority to waive, compromise, release, i.e. cancel federal student loans that the government owns. You can do this without needing one penny from the Treasury, without needing approval from Congress, without needing an appropriation from Congress. And oh, by the way, President Biden could cancel all federally owned student loans tomorrow, which is 90% of all student loan debt, without adding one thin dime to the national debt. We just got through throwing trillions out to the economy in pandemic stimulus. PPP loans don't need to be repaid, by the way. Tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires. 43,000 of them, millionaires and billionaires, got a $1.7 million tax break each as a part of this pandemic. We did all that stuff, all of it added to the national debt. All of it required money to be drawn from the Treasury. These loans can be canceled with none of that. In fact, no money would even change hands. So we're fighting for that. We started the petition in March 2020. And in fact, we even opened up that whole entire national conversation about canceling student loans by executive order, going back to August 2019 with a very seminal Vice interview that we did. But, our petition was almost nobody was talking about canceling loans by executive order when we started that petition in March 2020. The petition started kicking ass, including getting us up on Fox News and many other places, conservative places, which is interesting. And then Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren appropriated the concept, which we're glad that they did that. But folks, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but up to $50,000 loan cancellation is ridiculous. It could mean nothing, could mean anything, will mean almost nothing for almost everyone. But just all that stuff is really good to know that at least they are talking about canceling student loans by executive order, because Congress can never and will never do it. So by Biden and Jen Psaki deferring to Congress, that is the ultimate knife in our eyeballs. So you should be mad. You should be very mad. So yeah, I know a lot of people are pissed off these days, and particularly in recent days, and I love it. I mean, you should be. Like I said, where have you been? Blood has been shooting out of our eyeballs for the past 15 years on this issue. Finally, it would appear that normal people are finally starting to see that, oh, yeah, my life is being wrecked by these loans. So, as I said, we're thrilled that you found us. And again, if you have any questions or comments and you're watching us on Facebook, throw them out. If you're watching us on Twitter or any of the other platforms, sorry about that. You're going to have to find us on Facebook in the early evenings, like right now, in order to get a question or comment on. So the most important thing that we're doing right now, all week, this week, is very simple. We've got this bill, S-2598. We need everybody, including you, to do two very simple things. Call both of your senators this week. If you already called them last week, do it again this week. Last week, we got reports from Senate staffers saying that there was a steady stream of calls coming into their office about S-2598. We need to turn that into a torrential flood. All the little crappy little student loan companies are now blowing up our members' phones and their text messages saying, oh, get ready to start repaying in February. It ain't going to happen, by the way. It's just not going to happen. But the collection people, the servicers, the Maximuses and the Naviants, yeah, they are all blowing up our phones. So let's return the favor and let's blow the F up out of congressional Senate staffer phones. Call both of your senators this week. Here's where you can do that. Just go to our main website, look on the call your senators thing and do that. 2 phone calls, guys, 2 phone calls. It should take you about 5 minutes. Doesn't take hardly any time at all. These are your loans. This is your problem. Tell them in the strongest possible voice that they need to co-sponsor S-2598. If they are Republicans, say it even louder. Say it far louder. If they're Republicans, you tell them that they need to join Josh Hawley, Republican, John Cornyn, Republican, in co-sponsoring S-2598. We need Republicans, guys. We do. That's just a fact. And this should be a conservative Republican issue, believe it or not. We are fighting against big government here, guys. In a way, we're sort of fighting against the colleges. There's nothing that any true conservative can say that is good about this federal lending program. It is conquering and enslaving their states. States like North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Missouri, all those states that I mentioned at the top. Those states are being wrecked. Student loan debt in those states exceeds the entire state budget of those states, which is just an incredible thing. I mean, it's crazy. It's like cartoonish. It's Twilight Zone numbers. So Republicans, particularly in those states, but Republican senators everywhere should be on our side. Certainly on the bankruptcy issue. On the loan cancellation issue, they're still dragging their feet. I think they'll come around. But guys, here's the most important thing I'm going to tell you tonight. If you want student loan cancellation, then you absolutely must, we must have the right of bankruptcy returned to us. Only with the threat of bankruptcy in our pocket, in our back pocket, on the table, on our side. Only when we have the threat of bankruptcy is Joe Biden and the other people in Washington, D.C. going to actually meaningfully cancel student loans. As long as bankruptcy is gone, the loan cancellation we're going to see is this up to $50,000 nonsense or this up to $10,000 just bullcrap. It's going to mean almost nothing for almost everyone. We've been doing this for 16 years, guys. We've seen several, maybe even dozens, certainly several loan cancellation programs come and go and come and go again. And we have seen 99% of all the people who try for those not get the loan cancellation. Department of Education is very good at not canceling loans. And the common denominator for all those programs has been the absence of the threat of bankruptcy. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. But the founding fathers knew that bankruptcy, the threat of bankruptcy, was so important, they called for it ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army in the Constitution. Like not even the Bill of Rights, the body of the Constitution itself. Look it up. Article 1, Section 8. You'll be amazed. So guys, we're fighting for loan cancellation, no doubt about it. But loan cancellation depends, I think, probably entirely on whether or not we get the right of bankruptcy returned to these loans. S2598 does that. I don't know what all the other student loan activists in this space are doing. I know they're not fighting for bankruptcy as best as I can tell. I have no idea what they're thinking. Maybe they're a little younger. Maybe they don't know that much. But, you know, if they're going to call themselves student loan activists, they should know enough to know about this critical dynamic where we are not going to get meaningful loan cancellation without the threat of bankruptcy returned first. It's got to happen. So we're the pioneers on this, guys. I'm telling you the truth. Don't believe any of the noise out there. And especially don't believe anyone that tells you that bankruptcy and loan cancellation are competing against each other. They're not. They are simpatico with each other. They are in harmony. And in fact, the one depends upon the other. We're not going to see loan cancellation that's meaningful unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy returned. So S2598 is just absolutely incredibly important. And you need to make your 2 quick phone calls to the Senate this week. Hey, we've got a comment here from Steven Simpson. Hey, Steven, how are you doing? Steven says, Alan, don't you think they know they are throwing away a ton of support in the midterm elections and 2024? Honestly, I haven't seen this much anger online on some of the other Twitter feeds as I have now. How do you think they plan on to contend with the loss of support from progressives and the other 43 million voters? Michael Cheney says, yes. I can't speak for Joe Biden. I don't know what the Democrats are thinking. I know Joe Biden before the election said that he said almost, this is almost a verbatim quote. He said, I will eliminate your student loan debt if you earn less than $125,000 a year and you went to a public college or an HBCU. He said that. He also said, I want to cancel $10,000 across the board for everybody. He said a bunch of stuff. Now he's saying, I won't do that. No, I'm not going to do that. Last Friday, they go, yep. Resume repaying on February 1st. And today they said, nope, we're not going to cancel loans, only if Congress brings us a bill. What are they thinking? I don't know, man. What can I I mean, I've never seen such political idiocy my whole entire 16 years that I've been following this problem. Joe Biden has exposed himself as a creep, a swamp minion, and people out there should be pissed. Like, I don't know what they're thinking. Maybe they've already given up on the midterms. I don't know. Maybe they've already given up on 2024. I don't know. But what I do know is that no matter what the Democrats, no matter what the Republicans, no matter what Joe Biden, no matter what anybody in Washington, D.C. does or says, doesn't say, or doesn't do, this lending system is toast. It's in its death throes. It was frankly dead before the pandemic hit, and it's even deader now. So less than half the people were paying before the pandemic. Almost nobody is paying today. And come February 1st or whenever they decide to turn this lending system back on, almost nobody will pay. It could get ugly. It could. We want a clean, quick death. And in my humble opinion, ever paying another dollar back on your federal student loans is not only unwise, it's unpatriotic. So I understand everybody's got their own personal situations going on. I would say just generally, don't be so scared of this failed lending system. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to get my wages garnished. I don't want to get my income tax garnished, et cetera, et cetera. Don't be so scared. The lending system is far more afraid of us than we should be of it. They're not going to come after 40 million people who quit paying. It's not going to happen. So in my humble opinion, it's both unwise and unpatriotic to ever pay again. And remember, there are things that you can do to keep your loan out of default and not pay. You could do deferment. You could do forbearance. You could be a 1099 contractor so they can't garnish you. You can tell your boss to tell the collection goon squad who call and try and intimidate your boss into giving them a wage garnishment. You can tell your boss to ask them for a court order. And 9 times out of 10, they will go away. They will look down the list for an easier prey. These people are goons. This lending system has failed. Don't be afraid. And quite frankly, anybody who does resume paying on their loans come February, you're going to be in the small minority. Like, honestly, if they try and turn this lending system back on in February, by June, I'll be maybe a little surprised if even 1 in 5 people are paying. I will be surprised if a quarter of the borrowers are paying. That's what you call a failed lending system, guys. We got this. I say don't feed the beast. Do not feed the beast if you can possibly help it. There's many things you can do to do that. At least on paper, by the way, a lot of people in our group have managed to keep their loans out of default by making a nominal payment every 269 days. And if you look at the Department of Education's webpage, they say that they consider a loan to be in default if no payment has been made in 270 days. And the law underlying that looks maybe a little harsher. But as a practical matter, quite a few people in our group have made nominal payments every 269 or so days and managed to stay out of default. So it's no solution. Being in default is no picnic. What I just said is no solution. What I will say is if indeed you're like the vast majority of student loan borrowers and you do not resume paying come February, you got to at least help us fight. Like whatever energy you would have put into working to get money to pay your loans, et cetera, put that energy into helping us fight. Because we need you and you need us and you need everybody to be helping. So if you want to see these loans canceled, you've got to help us fight. First, to get S2598 passed as written. And second, to get the loans ultimately canceled. So we're on a very good path, guys. As I said, this is the most important week I can think of. If you forget everything I said tonight, remember at least to call both of your senators this week. If you want to lead your state or maybe co-lead your state, let me know. Send me an email, justice@studentloanjustice.org. And so with that, I don't see any more comments. We probably do have some. I apologize for that. I will answer any comments that I didn't see after the fact. But hang in there, guys. We got this, but we need you. And tell everybody you know about this group because as unlikely as may appear, we are the center of the universe on this fight. We are the tip of the spear. In fact, we are the spear. We are the eye of the storm. In fact, we are the storm, and we need you. And these are your loans, and this is your problem. And we will not get it solved without you. In the immortal words of fictionary character John Connor, Terminator, you have no idea how important you are. So call your senators this week. Don't take no for an answer. Don't stop calling them in the weeks and months to come unless and until they co-sponsor S2598. So good luck, everyone. Check back frequently. Things are happening very quickly on this issue right now. We really need you in this fight. Good luck. Godspeed. And God bless everybody. And please donate if you can. StudentLoanJustice.org. Donate.